Good afternoon, friends, and welcome back. Today we're going to work on removing the transmission from the 1975 Shovelhead. Now that we've got the primary drive all apart, inner and outers off, and everything kind of set, the next thing to take off is going to be this transmission. When it comes to removing the transmission on these old bikes, it's fairly simple. This chain here was a one-piece construction, so I did go ahead and remove the master link before taking it apart. This one was a press fit. Both the ends were peened over. It did not have a master link clip at all. So I did go ahead and grind the ends off, and I saved you guys the hassle of watching me do that. But now that I have that link out of the way, I can go ahead and pull the chain itself. Now the chain's pretty stiff. I don't think it's in terrible shape. I honestly think it can be still used. I'd like to soak that in some sort of cleaner and see if it's any good. But for now, I just want to get it out of the way. Now with the chain out of the way, we're ready to get to the meat and potatoes of getting this transmission removed. There's actually 5 lower studs that we need to get out of the way. 2 are right here on this side and 3 are on the other side. There's 1 kicker support stud, and I'll show you that when we get over there. First, we're going to remove these 2 here. These 2 studs are a 9/16, so we're actually going to get on those with the Milwaukee wrench here and we'll get those loosened up. One of the things you're going to start seeing on these bikes is how grody they actually get. And looking underneath here, you can see how thick the grime is underneath here. And this is years and years of oil, dirt, road grime, just whatever. And this is part of the deal. This is what, you get really dirty on when you get underneath the bottom side of these things if they haven't been maintained, washed, cleaned in a million years, or have sat in a barn for a long time. On the right-hand side of the bike, there are 2 more studs that we can get to on the bottom of the transmission, and then there's one right here. And this is your kickstand support mount here. And there's actually a nut on the back side of there. We can get on that with a wrench. So I'll get that with a ratchet wrench, I think. I might be able to get on it with the Milwaukee here. We'll see if there's enough room. There's just enough room to get on that, so we'll go ahead and loosen that up. As you can see, that was the wrong stud. It's got a bunch of washers on there to make it right. Sometimes you see that on old fixes. Now with the mounting hardware out of the way, I should be able to lift the transmission up itself. We still will have to deal with this top bracket here. This is kind of in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen these 2 bolts up and get this out of the way. Now with this bracket out of the way, it gives us just a little bit more space to maneuver the transmission around. This bracket actually serves as a couple of pieces. One, your clutch adjustment goes here for your clutch cable. Your your oil bag mounts to this here, and this is one of those isolators, and as you can see, it is messed up. That's what they do. They flex and they look kind of gross. Thankfully, this one's loose. Also, there's that oil line hold down. As you can see, that's nice and curved, and that just holds those oil lines out of the way. The last thing we're going to do is remove this shift linkage here. There's a cotter pin here that we need to pull, so I need to get the 2 tabs moved back together. Should be able to get in there with a pick and then pull that out. Now that that's out of the way, we can pull the linkage. And that gives us the ability to be able to pick the transmission up and get ready to move it. I also have one more thing I need to remove. This is your speedometer drive here. This is a transmission drive speedometer cable. This is as opposed to an FX style motorcycle, which would be driven off the front wheel. This one is actually driven off the transmission itself. So there's a cap screw here. So I'll have to go ahead and get a wrench on there and unscrew that. With a pair of needle-nose pliers, you can gently back this out so it'll unscrew all of the way. And now with our speedometer drive cable out of the way, we need to remove our neutral safety switch or our neutral light switch here. And there should be no more electronics on this transmission, so it should be ready to be pulled. Working from the right-hand side of the bike, I'm going to tip the transmission up a little bit and try to gently pull it backwards. Because of the swing arm, there's not quite enough room to maneuver all of the parts out of the way to be able to get this transmission pulled. So what I'm going to need to do is actually pull the transmission mounting plate as well. So I'm going to work on undoing that. That's 4 bolts. There's 2 in the front and 2 in the back. You get to the back 2 from the top and the front 2 from the bottom. These also are a 9/16 stud, so we'll loosen these up. The back bolt here is actually in a peculiar spot, and this one's always hard to get to, so this one you'll have to work at with a wrench. Now with the transmission mount plate fully unhooked, I should be able to pull this whole unit out. From the left-hand side of the bike, I'm going to grab the transmission by its kicker shaft and by its main shaft, and I'm going to pull this through. Of course, in pulling it out that way, I've dropped everything on the floor. You can see down there is your transmission mount plate, but we are one step closer now to getting the engine out. With the transmission removal, you can see things are starting to get a little tougher. Some of these parts have probably been together a long time. Obviously, they're caked in whatever was flying up from the road, and that leads to some difficulties. It's hard to find, some of the nuts and bolts. It's hard to find where lines are running. It's hard to get on these things with a socket because, they're covered in whatever this stuff is, and that leads to some challenges. With this bike too, something I didn't consider was the ratchet top being so high. There was no way to get the transmission, side to side or up and down. To remove it with the swing arm in place, I would have had to remove the swing arm, so that's why I pulled the transmission plate. As you can see, these things are going to be a little more challenging and a little more fun from this point on. Well, friends, I appreciate you sticking to the end of the video and watching this. Hopefully you're enjoying the series. If you are, give it a like. Give this video a thumbs up. If you have questions or comments or some sort of idea on how I could have done that better, drop it in the comment section below. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. There's quite a bit left to do here, and I wouldn't want you guys to miss anything. Anyway, I thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next time.